Coming up on Dallas Mavericks today, the latest on Christian Wood and the possibility of a sign and trade. We'll explore that. Plus, Rudy Gay, veteran scorer, got released by the Oklahoma City Thunder after he was moved there in a trade, I believe, from draft night. He's available. Could the Mavs sign him to a veteran minimum contract? We'll talk about both those stories on today's show. But first, help us get to 25,000 subscribers here on the channel. We're just over 600 away from that, but also just 105 away from 24,500. That's the next kind of half milestone here. So help us out. Daily Mavs content here on the channel. Hit that sub button. I'm Harrison Graham. Let's start with Christian Wood. Where is he going to land in NBA free agency? Let's kind of just get this part out of the way. He won't return to Dallas, barring something unforeseen. But there has been a lot of rumors, a lot of buzz reports about other teams that have garnered interest. Dan Wolke of the LA Times linked the Lakers last week, but also added a couple new teams to the mix from what he's heard. The Chicago Bulls, the Miami Heat, as a couple of teams that have been linked for Christian Wood, in addition to the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, Marc Stein, who's got sources in the Mavs organization and league-wide, says that the Mavs have not ruled out a sign and trade to ship out Christian Wood elsewhere and perhaps get something back in return. So if a team out there is willing to take him on and ship back, a second-round pick or some other player, that could still be in the cards. But I maintain that I do not expect Christian Wood to return. We already know he's gone. But if you can get something back, even if it's just a minor into-the-bench type of piece, I'll take it. There's nothing wrong with that. The Mavs still have a roster or potentially two roster spots to fill because they're likely going to cut or trade JaVale McGee. So I'm definitely down for that if that is a possibility. Now, coming up here in just a moment, we're going to take a look at some of the Bulls, Heat, and Lakers assets, something that the Mavs could recoup in return for Christian Wood to see if something could be on the table. But get your red pens out, folks. Grade Christian Wood's time in Dallas, A, B, C, D, or F. Probably give it a D overall, even though the raw stats look good. And I'm not giving it a D because his last name's Wood. I'm giving him a D because it's not that good of a year for Christian Wood. Producer Seeps is laughing in my ear. But A, B, C, D, or F. I wish it worked out. I think Jason Kidd deserves some blame in this as well, but clearly he's going to be moving on. Okay, you look at the Bulls trade assets. Alex Caruso, Patrick Williams, Dalen Terry, 2 firsts in 2024, first in 2026. I mean, would they move on from a Dalen Terry this quickly to go ahead and get a guy like Christian Wood? I can pull up Patrick Seatman on the mic real quick. He's producing. He hosts our Bulls channel. Is there any piece in Chicago that they would move in a Christian Wood sign and trade in your eyes? I don't think they'd give up any of these pieces.
Yeah, probably none of these pieces.
Maybe a second?
I could see a second, being thrown for Christian Wood. We obviously just gave up 2 seconds to move up in this year's draft. So we're kind of light on from that side of things. But, yeah, probably none of these assets.
Yeah. I mean, Dalen Terry was kind of underwhelming as a rookie, but, are you going to punt on him after 1 year for Christian Wood, who has bounced around like crazy in the NBA? That seems unlikely.
Yeah, exactly. I hope they keep Dalen Terry around because you never want to move off a guy who went 18th overall in last year's draft just for a guy like Christian Wood.
Now, maybe there's some sort of other piece in a trade where a Tim Hardaway gets moved to Chicago and maybe a second piece comes back. Who knows? But I think if it's just Christian Wood, I don't think they'd move on from these pieces. Let's look at the Miami Heat because the Heat make a lot of sense to me, especially if they do trade for Damian Lillard, because they're going to need to fill out that roster with cheap contracts. And, you look at what they have. Tyler Hero, I don't think the Dallas Mavericks have any interest there just because their 2 primary players are guards and Luka and Kyrie. Not sure how that would fit. Duncan Robinson getting redirected. They kind of just did that with Davis Bertans. I don't think they want to go that route again. Kyle Lowry. Look, if it wasn't $30 million, I would like him as my bench point guard. Could you move Hardaway, JaVale McGee, and Christian Wood in a sign and trade for Kyle Lowry? I mean, that's kind of interesting to think about if you can get that money to add up. I would love him to come off the bench. Don't think Caleb Martin's getting redirected for Christian Wood. Obviously, some first-round picks in there as well. It's kind of thin there. It's especially thin for the Lakers. They've made a lot of moves. technically they can move LeBron, but I don't think he's getting moved, or AD. Max Christie, he intrigued me in the summer league, but I think LA is pretty high on him. So, you know, you look at it, I think Miami probably gives you the best chance just because they are going to be so active with the Damian Lillard stuff that maybe they'd be willing to move another piece to make room for Christian Wood. So, and to perhaps lower that tax bill as well. Lakers draft capital, a couple of 3 seconds and a first. Again, you're not going to get a first in a Christian Wood sign and trade, but take a 20-25 second for Christian Wood. No problem with that whatsoever. So I personally think, again, fit-wise, Miami makes the most sense because I do think they'll get Damian Lillard. They're going to need some bench scoring production, and with Christian Wood's faults, we do know he can score the basketball, and Miami has a great culture in place, so if anybody can get the best out of him, it's probably Eric Spoelstra. And I also think they have potentially the most to offer in some sort of sign and trade. I mean, if you somehow got Kyle Lowry redirected to Dallas as your bench point guard, makes a ton of money, but it's only for 1 year. He's free agent after this year. So, and we know the Mavs have been interested before. Subscribe to the channel. If the Mavs make a move, we're going to break it down. So hit that sub button. Like I said, we're just over 100 subs away from 24,500. So help us out and support the show. How about Rudy Gay? Is he an option for the Mavericks on the veteran minimum? The Thunder waived Rudy Gay on Wednesday after he got shipped there from Atlanta. He was a part of that John Collins trade, which was just before the draft. Played in 56 games last season with the Jazz, as they obviously kind of fast-tracked their rebuild with a lot of young talent. Now, Rudy Gay has been around for a while. I mean, when I was looking at his basketball reference page, I was like, man, 17 seasons. Like, you don't last this long by accident. One of the better wings in his prime in the NBA, 6'8", long wingspan, which helped him out on the defensive end. Top 10 pick way back in 2006 out of UConn. A legend on NBA 2K. As well. Always fun to play with, especially in his prime. You look at his recent years. I mean, the last 2 years, he's definitely dipped, right? I mean, especially this year. Still respectable numbers in the 21-22 season. Pretty solid the 2 years before in San Antonio. He was actually pretty damn good for them, even late in his career. But the splits this year were pretty notably bad. I mean, under 38% from the field, 25% from three. His advanced shooting metrics here, under 25% on catch and shoot three, which you think about a potential fit with Dallas, like catching some of those weak side passes from Luka and Kyrie. Like, you got to be able to knock the three ball down, and he did not do well on that. Pull-up game is okay still, but less than 10 feet, just over 50%, not great. Overall shooting, okay, 43.7%. Plus, you look at the Mavs wings right now, I mean, he's not getting minutes over any of these guys, including Olivier Maxence Prosper. Vet minimum, though, like to round out a roster, bring in a vet who can be a vocal guy in a locker room. He's been there. He's played on rebuilding teams. He's played on contending teams. Like, he's been around this league for a while. And, you kind of think of a guy like Vince Carter late in his career having value here. Now, Vince Carter was still pretty damn productive for the Mavericks. I don't know if Rudy Gay can average 10-plus points for this team, but even if he's not in the rotation, like, I'd rather have that guy as my 15th man than JaVale McGee, for example. So I think it's a possibility. I think it would have some value, but I'll be curious to see what he wants to do at this point in his career. Would you sign Rudy Gay on a vet minimum deal? S for sign or P for pass? Even though I'm down on how he played last year for the vet men, I'm absolutely in. Doesn't impact your cap whatsoever. Decent type of vet to round out your roster with. So very open to this idea. Let me know what you guys think. Appreciate you guys once again for tuning in to the channel. We'll be back soon. I'm actually going on a weekend trip, so I'll be out the next couple days, but back at it on Monday in the studio. So turn on those notifications for our next video here on Dallas Mavericks Today.